This is Paul Newman here with the Cashflow Cafe podcast. Excited to have my great friend on, Matt Wise. Matt, welcome to the show. In 1 minute or less, tell me about yourself.
Hello, Paul. Thanks for having me on, man. My name is Matt Wise. I live here in Statesboro. I'm from Hazelhurst, Georgia. I came here in 2004, played football at Georgia Southern. 04 to 07, met my wife here who plays soccer. Have 4 girls from ages 10 to 2. And then I'm the campus director for Athletes in Action, which is a sports ministry of Campus Crusade for Christ. So I've been football chaplain, baseball, basketball, just work with all athletes and coaches at Georgia Southern since 2009.
That's awesome, Matt. I've known you for quite some time. I think that our relationship has grown over the years. I think there's nobody I respect more in the community just from the amount that you give to everybody. You pour into everybody, and the Athletes in Action is such a big cause for me. Love the mission trips that you guys go on. Water filters has been a big thing for me.
Yep.
But it's just, you've got a heart for Jesus, and it shows, and it's awesome. Side note, our daughters play soccer together, and that's been pretty cool too.
It is a big tournament coming this weekend.
Yes, we need to get that W. Both Matt and I are very competitive. We love pickleball and all things, and maybe one day, share a little bit about the dream of the complex that we have.
Well, just on a pickleball standpoint, the last tournament that Statesboro had, me and you won that tournament.
We're winners.
Winners. And we go for the dub. We always go for the win, but because of our faith, we go for the worship too. So
love it.
But with pickleball, man, could you imagine Statesboro having this idea of this, what I want to call the Paul Newman Sports Complex? And this,
manifesting it. Put it in the air.
So this sports complex is a Christian ran sports facility that is, it's got verses and graphics all over it, but it has a weight room, it has indoor pickleball courts, it has basketball.
I picture teacher, I picture financial literacy, I picture Christian speakers, all of it. I mean, basketball gym, I mean, it could be blown up. It's I don't know. I think this is kind of stuff in life that you have to do. You have to actually picture what you want in life to make it happen. A lot of times I'll say, hey, I'll talk to some students and I'll say, hey, could any of you climb Mount Everest? And nobody's going to raise their hand, right? But if you did want to climb Mount Everest, what would you have to do? You'd have to research it. You'd have to buy the gear. You probably have to train for it. So much of life is actually speaking the things that you want into existence. I believe in the power of positivity and positive thinking all day long.
Yeah, well, and mostly too, I mean, people love sports. So
they look up to sports.
No
I mean,
doubt.
it's expanding, the kingdom and all the things.
Well, and the thing about sports, it gives you a platform, and you can use sports as a platform to reach others. And I remember when I was in middle school, we had a quarterback that went and played for University of Oklahoma, played in the NFL, named Nate Hibble. And I remember when I was in 8th grade, him coming to our class and speaking, and just like I was mesmerized by who he was.
Oh, yeah.
And so anytime I think you could get,
Did he win a national championship with Oklahoma?
He sure did.
Okay. They beat Florida State 13-2, some weird score, very low scoring game. Did he win it against Florida State? Do you remember?
I don't know if it was
Nathan Heupel or something.
No,
right?
the year before him was Nate Hibble, who won. I think it was the Rose Bowl, big Rose Bowl game. But,
okay.
But just having an athlete who has influence like that, and so imagine leveraging that in our community with college and athletes coming in to do things with younger kids. Could be a really cool idea. So
I'm just passionate about your ministry as a whole because it's just people do look up to athletes. I mean, we're drawn to we love our sports in America, and I think the Christian leaders, and if you excel at athletics and you're not afraid to give it up for Jesus, it's like that's just a winning combo for me.
Oh, no doubt.
All day.
No doubt. It's the Tim Tebow complex.
I love it. If we could only have more of Tim Tebow's. All right. So you already said what brought you to Statesboro, but. So you end up playing football. Did you? I can't remember if you touched on that or not. But you played football at Georgia Southern, and so why did you stay afterwards?
So I had a choice. The end of my junior year, I had a career and an injury, and so I was. My wife's family basically had opportunity to go do medical device sales in South Florida, made 6 figures.
Which you would have been great at.
Which have been good.
You're a very big people person, and sales goes right with that.
Sell ice to Eskimos, stuff like that.
I love it.
But also, too, when I was here, there was no sports ministry for athletes. And so when I had that current injury that last year, I was a student coach because a part of me also wanted to go be a strength coach and coach football and do that. And that last year I couldn't play, so I became a student assistant coach and I started leading team Bible study and fell in love with it. And really it was
gave you that juice.
And it was the passion of really, as I look at my story, I came from a single mother growing up. I worked about every manual labor job you could have. I'd play football on Friday and go work at Food Line Saturday, Sunday, and just always, even in college, I was playing football summer workouts, but the summertime I was going to put up fences and just had every manual. So I always had this work ethic, and really that last semester, I just fell in love with passion about. I feel like I should go work, but I feel like God was leading me to do something else. And so I always tell people I love sports and I love Jesus.
Love it.
And Athletes in Action was the place that the Lord led me to. So I've been here ever since then.
That's awesome. And what are some of the things, like, why do you love Statesboro as a whole? Like, what do you think makes Statesboro such a great community to work and live and play?
I mean, the people. I mean, the Statesboro, like, we live in the Bible Belt, and so there's a little bit of the Bible Belt, the Southern hospitality, but I love the people. I love just the university here. I feel like people love Georgia Southern.
I think, and I'll elaborate and let you keep going, but like having the university here, like, and we both have kids. You have 4 and I have 3. Like, that's built-in entertainment to be able to take your kid to a basketball game or a baseball game and a football game. Like, if you're not a parent, you don't really realize those little things, but that's something awesome that they'll remember, and it's great athletics. It's great entertainment. So for me, like, the university has been such a nice compliment to live here. To live in a college town.
And also too, now being from Hazelhurst, we were a small town. I mean, between the cotton field and hayfield, middle of nowhere, a couple of red lights.
This is a big Statesboro's upgrade.
This is
a big upgrade. Yeah.
And it's funny, my wife is from South Florida.
Fort Lauderdale, baby.
Fort Lauderdale, and so. For her coming here, she was like, I would never live here. But the more she's been here, she's became countrified. So
it flips. I think, I'm from Fort Lauderdale, went to Atlanta, and I guess I'm big on planning out my future any way I can. I thought I was going to go back to Atlanta. I thought I was going to go sit in downtown traffic like my father, and like, I'm so thankful that my life didn't turn out that way. I mean, God had a way different plan for me, and I love this town. I love this community. My dad also, he saw me at lunch one day, and it's similar to you. If you got to eat, they're like, hey, man, what's up? Everybody knows everybody. But I think one thing that makes Statesboro special is the fact that we all kind of do business with each other. We support local, and there's just so many business owners that really look after each other and want to help each other out. I think that's huge.
No doubt. You see that whenever somebody opens up a new business. Matthew Tyson opened Sully Steamers. And
big shout out, Tyson.
Love it. The Cousin Eddie's my favorite, by the way. But just to see the support, because people was like, we love the Tysons, so go support them. And it's like that with everybody in Statesboro.
Even when somebody, God forbid, gets sick or, in this town, it shows up. And I just don't think you have that in the big communities. I mean, I think that's one of the small town things. We show up for our people.
No doubt.
And so that's really special. So what do you what's your why, Matt? What's your motivation? What is your why? What do you think gets you up in the morning and makes you hungry for life?
So my why is kind of a cliche, but it's an easy answer. My why is Jesus. In college, he completely changed my life around. Before my why was myself, it was my desires, my goals. Yep. When I came into a relationship with Jesus, it changed everything. And so really my why is I want to leverage my life and live for him. And really my thing is that I want to deflect his glory. And so every day my why is the question of, Lord, how can I steward your gifts, your things that you've given me, and my time, talents, and treasures to really make much of you, and like he says in Scripture, let your light shine. And so I'm not perfect. I fall short all the time, but I really live in a way that I want my light shine. So when people see that, it could really bring glory to him.
And you do, and a lot of people, we're called to walk through life with people, and I think for you are a listener a lot. You are a listener to people and the stuff that they're going through. I know you mean the world to a ton of the coaches as the athletes, but man, and you don't have all the answers, but you're here to listen and point them to Jesus, and that's what we all got to be doing.
Yeah.
So
well, and it's to think about is having the eternal perspective. I mean, life is short. What profit a man to gain the whole world? Have all you could have all the money, all the houses, all the stuff.
That's it.
But you can't take any of it with you.
No, and we're all gonna be dust one day.
And so my thing is I want to live for the eternal perspective about what's to come when this life is over, and I want to store up treasures in heaven, not on this earth.
Amen. I love it. All right, let's see. All right, so let's ask this question. What do you think you spend the most of your money on, like, that you would feel like is a waste of money? Like, where's your biggest waste of money spent? Because a lot of this stuff, we're going to talk about faith, finances, football, sports, all the things. But, a financial piece is important to me. I like to make people better with their finances. How do you save? How do you spend? So for you, what do you feel like you spend the most on that you wish, like, man, I could cut back or do better? Yeah,
so I feel like this is Colleen, my wife, asking me this question. So she is, in our marriage, she's the saver, I'm the spender.
Okay.
And so for me, though, I would say the number one thing is food. I love food. And food is...
I can tell.
I love food. So food is the one thing that sometimes can get me in trouble.
And food out of nowhere has gotten outrageous. To feed a family of 4 or a family of 5, if you go out to eat, you're fixing to burn 100.
Easily.
Pretty easy.
Easily.
So so food and that may maybe food prices will come back down, but so maybe that for you to save more money, it's a little bit more meals at the house, but then Colleen's got to do more and you got to grill more. So but you're a little bit of a grill master, aren't you?
I do like my little smoker. I love any kind of. I could be a carnivore, just do carnivore diet and just eat meat. I can
Give me
do
some
that.
Chicken wings,
dude. Some brisket, some burnt-in, some you name it.
That's it.
So I would say that the biggest thing too is in my job. A lot of stuff I do with athletes and coaches is built around lunches and breakfasts and
because you got to meet them. You have to meet them a little bit when they're not on their job because you're spending that extra time, whether it's early mornings, and a lot of those does call for lunches. So that that's a little bit you're spending and that kind of stuff. But it is hard. That's one thing that you can obviously save money on is out to eat, cutting back. With an investment, let's see. What is one investment that you were successful on that you would repeat? It doesn't have to be money. It's like it could be anything. So what's an investment that you're like, man, that was awesome, and I would definitely repeat that formula?
Well, that was obviously my wife. I mean, investment there. That was a winner.
Win.
But I would just say that the thing that I think is investment for me is really just tithing to my church and tithing to other missionaries.
Yes.
For me, I know there's a lot of great investments to make out there. And with the resources that I have, I go by the stewardship principle that everything we have, God owns, and He's given to us to steward it well. So when it comes to my wife, my kids, like I strive to steward it well for Him.
Yep.
And even with our finances, the money that I have, it literally comes from the Lord. And so one of the things that I really want to invest in is I want to give back to Him and other missionaries. And then this is probably an area that I need help in. I'm not the best in investments and know what to invest in. So I know there's a lot of people invest in certain stocks and real estate. I know there's a couple of years there I got into the Dogecoin.
Oh God, Elon Musk.
I made like $500 though, so it was good. I sold it at the right time. But other than that, I would say that the investment that I look at is I just try to look at it from a spiritual standpoint. If I can invest in things that will last eternally, that's where I try to give and invest in.
Yeah, and I think that when you give, I mean, I've seen in my life, like it's been crazy good. Anytime I give, I get it back tenfold, and that's biblical. You know what I mean? You're gonna get it back. You can't outgive God.
That's true.
And so I think that your headspace is in the right place, and I think any of us, and it doesn't always have to be money. I think giving of all of your talents in any way is what God would have you do.
No doubt.
All right, so how has your business niche space changed in the last couple of years? Have you had some setbacks? Have you had a couple? I mean, there's been, because obviously some of you're not in business, you're in missionaries, but some of it is dependent on gifts and tithing, and economy's getting a little tighter and that kind of stuff. So how has any of that changed in the past couple of years for you?
Yeah, I would just say that the in general we've seen our economy prices have went up, and that's caused people to kind of pull back some.
Mm-hmm.
Just cost of flights, going on mission trips and stuff has increased. So there's just a lot of increase in cost, but also there hasn't given us kind of ebb and flow, with people. So it's really living by faith and saying, Lord, here's what we need, and realizing that, in Scripture, God is the one who owns, 10,000 cattle, and He's overall. So it's really just kind of, seeing the effects of costs have gone up, but the Lord always provides. But
He does, and sometimes we have to be asked to give. Like, it's uncomfortable, but sometimes you do. Some people want to give, they don't know how or don't know what they want to give to. Yep. So that's why I think obviously giving to your church and that kind of stuff is good, but athletes in action in general is just cool, because for me, I can see it. I can see it in my community, and I can see the athletes, giving back.
I think the thing when I talk to people about giving is there's a book called Wealth Isn't Worth It, and it's a really great book to read. It just talks about how you steward wealth and what's the biblical principles on that. But I think one of the main things that I've taken away is just when it comes to giving is like, look, there's like, what are the things you're passionate about? What are things that you can really give that make a difference? And the thing I say about, there's so many great nonprofit organizations. There's so many great things to give to, and it's just really sitting down and just having some time in prayer and like, Lord,
where do you want me?
Yeah, where do you want me? How can I help? And what are my passions? Because I tell people, if you love sports and you love Jesus, then what we do is a perfect fit.
100%.
But there's other things that could line up in those things well. And so, and we always try to take a biblical approach. It's like, how do we help out orphans? How do we help out? We love trying to go spend time at Seventh Mile Ranch, and ways to help people locally is just trying to find ways to go help orphans and children and just widows and things in our church. It's just, I think the biggest thing I had a couple years ago tell me, and they said, because I've worked for everything my whole life, and then when I get into the job of ministry is asking for support to support our family to be missionaries.
Right.
And one of the things that they told me was like, Matt, don't be afraid to ask. And it's like, we can't do what you do, but God has blessed us to be able to support what you do.
Yep.
And so we're a partner in this. You're on the front line. So by you not asking, you're actually withholding a blessing from us from not being able to help partner with you to go do what you do. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's sometimes just realizing, like, sometimes you're the one that's called to go, and sometimes you're the one that Lord is kind of saying, hey, I want you to give for someone to go.
100%.
So
that's how I feel like He's got me, and my time is kind of stretched thin. Don't take my time away from me, but He allows me to give. But there's a challenge in there too, where it's like, all right, you need to be giving more time and spending more time, not just gifts.
And that's why on this podcast, I'm going to challenge you to come with us on one of our spring break mission trips.
I know it. I have to say yes. There's the challenge. I need to do challenge accepted. Okay, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I think one of I made one of the dumbest decisions when I came to college. So obviously grew up very poor, didn't know a lot about finances. But my whole thing coming to college is I said, if I could have a pretty girl, if I could have a cool whip,
check,
and start in football, that would be the pinnacle. Well, one of the things I did is I came in as a preferred walk-on and I earned a scholarship. Yep. And when I earned a scholarship, I had a vehicle that was paid for. My truck was paid for.
Nice.
But it's not what I wanted. I wanted something else. So what did I do? I took out a student loan, and I went and got a Cadillac Escalade and twin spinners.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. How did I not ever hear this story?
So when I stopped, they kept spinning, playing David Banner Cadillac on 22s.
Hilarious.
That was me in college.
Cadillacs on 22.
Ain't getting nothing in my life.
I love it.
But that was one dumb decision because that was student loan debt that I had to pay back.
Right.
I had a vehicle that was paid for.
I feel like I did the same thing. I took out student loans just to party, and that was not where my headspace needed to be. I had the Hope Scholarship, but I was like, man, I still want to go out and have fun. I needed the money, so Yes, probably both of us could have told our younger self not to take out student loans for dumb stuff.
And then here's one thing that I try to give advice to guys is, especially as athletes, you get certain checks for housing and stuff like that. And if I could have went back, what I would have done is I would have went out to I believe it's Greenhaven Trailer Park.
Oh yeah.
And I would have bought a trailer and had that thing paid off with my scholarship money.
Boom. I could have helped you.
But instead, what did I do is I went and got rentals, and money that I was given, it was still a place to live, but when I got done,
there was nothing to show for it.
Nothing to show for it.
Yep.
So if I'd have went back and I would actually bought a place, then I could have had it and kept it as a rental.
Then maybe you could have took the student loan out to make your down payment on the Greenhaven. That would have been the smart play.
But that's one thing that if I could have went back, I would have did differently.
Oh, that's awesome. I got 3 more questions for you.
Okay.
One, I think me and you would probably agree with this, but how do you like your coffee? I know you are a coffee drinker, right?
I mean, what minister isn't a coffee drinker?
Exactly.
So I like it when it's wintertime. I like hot coffee. Are you saying what kind or what
Well,
type?
I like how do you like it? So like if you're drinking coffee on a daily basis, like do you like it with cream and sugar, or do you like or what's your go-to? And where's your go-to coffee shop in town?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. All right, so
I'm 3 Tree. Sorry to any no disrespect to the other ones.
I show no partiality. I like all coffee. So I like it hot in the wintertime. I love cold brew when it's kind of hot outside. But I love caramel cold brew. I go through seasons. Sometimes I like it with cream and sugar. Sometimes I like it black.
I'm pretty much black all the time.
But I'm telling you, from 3 Tree to Cool Beans to Sugar Mag Coffee House.
Big shout out to the local coffee shops. I like to make mine at the house, but every now and then when you've got the
that goes back to my spending issue.
That's it.
Spending money on food out.
McCafe coffee at the house. All right. If you had $100,000, how would you invest? I think you already maybe covered that. Or
if I had $100,000, I would tie some of it to the Lord. But if it was strictly investment, I would put it in the Paul Newman Sports Complex in Statesboro, Georgia.
I feel like this is a lot of pressure, but I feel like we're gonna do this thing at some point. You heard it here first on the podcast.
It is.
And then we can come back, circle back on that.
But I think you've seen how much pickleball has taken off. We love pickleball. I
love it. Crazy about it.
But just from an investment, I've heard someone say that the indoor courts they did in Macon, the place is almost paid for, and
we can't give away all our secrets right now. So we're just going. We're organizing the blueprint, but just don't give away all the secrets.
I won't give it.
Okay.
But
I'm excited about that.
Yes, me too.
All right, and what is your number one time waster overall? And we'll get you out of here. It's the number one way that you think steals your time away that you're like, man, why did I spend it doing that? Because every day you got something that's like, I wasted 30 hour, whatever.
I would say the number one time waster for me sometimes just being on my phone. And it's just getting caught up on the phone.
I feel like everybody's going to answer that same question because we're all guilty of it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we go on mission trips, our phones don't work, and it's some of the best.
It's a blessing
because you literally are just unattached. And so I think I remember I tell people sometimes when I was in high school I had the Link phone, the little beep beep thing.
Yep.
You didn't have internet, you didn't have any of that stuff. Like how great would it be to go back to that sometimes?
It is. I mean, I feel like I'm glued to my phone because I get probably 100 texts a day, and it's just come on, throw the phone away. That's
there's benefits to it. It's like social media. Like there's sometimes I wish I wasn't on social media.
You stay plugged in. Social media has 10 benefits for every 10 negatives. So it's like I guess it's the necessary evil. And it's how you use it, right?
And it goes back to the stewardship. Is like when I know Colleen and I have talked about this, and we probably haven't done it great, but there's sometimes like when we get home, like our phones go down and we just spend time with each other, and we don't past 9 o'clock. We're not on phone. Like it's just trying to do stuff like that.
We're all guilty of it. Sometimes it's a husband and wife sitting right next to each other on our phones. You're like, okay, what are we doing? This would have never been this way 20, 30, 40 years ago, and we're sitting here right next to each other. We're all guilty of it.
We're guilty, yeah, no doubt.
Well, Matt, man, I appreciate you coming on. You're one of my very good friends. We don't see each other all the time because we're out busy being and trying to be a dad and all the things. But, man, I enjoyed you coming on the show. Let's do it again soon.
It was a blessing. Appreciate you, my brother.